souls. And no money in our coats. Well, you can't say we're satisfied, and you can't say we never tried. And you're beautiful, but ain't it time that we've said goodbye? And Angie, oh, I still love you. I love you, and I remember all those nights we cried, and all those dreams we felt so close seem to all blow up in smoke. Well, let me whisper in your ear, Angie, where will it lead us from here? Oh, Angie, don't you wish, 'cause your kisses still taste sweet. Oh, but I hate that sadness in your eyes. Hey, Angie, oh, my pretty Angie, oh, ain't it time that we've said goodbye? Oh, with no loving in our souls, and no money in our coats. Oh, you can't say you were satisfied. And Angie, oh, I still love you. I love you, baby, and everywhere I look, I see your eyes. Oh, there ain't a woman that comes close to you, my Angie. And come on, baby, come on, dry those eyes. Hey, Angie, oh, my pretty Angie, ain't it good to be alive? And Angie, you can't say we never tried.
Hey, Chris Liepe here with something a little new, at least new to me. Wouldn't be the first time I have been accused of living under a rock. I had never heard of One OK Rock until I started getting comments requesting, you should review this guy Taka from One OK Rock. He's got an incredible voice. Well, let's see how many more comments come in. Then I started getting emails, and then I got a text from a really good friend of mine, Blake McLean, has a fantastic YouTube channel. You should check it out if you haven't. He texted me, he's like, these guys are going on tour with Muse in the US soon, and they're huge in Japan, and he's got an amazing voice, and I would love to hear what you think about his voice. So I was like, okay, I've got to do it. So I've never heard this guy sing, but I've heard lots of great things about him, so I'm sure I'm not going to be let down. On this channel, I teach people how to sing, and if you like my approach, you like some of the insights I have, click the link below and check out my free voice course, where I help people discover what they can really do with their voice, how to pull from influences, how to pull from the people that they really like to listen to, and take those experiments and create a real voice that you can be proud of. What an incredible state. Look at that. All those phone lights. Forgot to mention that I tend to start and stop because otherwise I forget what I want to say about the voice when I do some of these analyses and reactions. So, sorry, that's kind of the way I roll. Plus, I have a lot less chance that I'm going to run into copyright problems with YouTube's algorithm if I'm stopping regularly. So, thank you for understanding.
It's too late, it's too late, not going back.
Okay, it's been a while since I've heard a new vocalist and gotten shivers the first time. Wow. I hear a little bit of Chester Bennington, that angelic sound, and then when he got into that compression on that higher, more, slightly more aggressive note, I'm really excited to see where he goes here. But wow, what an incredible tone. Do you hear how he's got this on the edge of head voice? La 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 la. He's light enough to where he can make those notes be on the very edge of his break without being awkward. In fact, it's like he's so comfortable there. He's got his airflow down, right? To where he can go, yeah, and get that neat, gritty, compressed sound, but where he can also be right on the edge of his head voice and chest voice and give you that. That's where he gets that sweet, angelic tone. Okay, I'm going to back it up just a little bit so we can get right into that chorus. Also notice his use of fry. I realize I sound nothing like him, but I'm highlighting some of these techniques so we can appreciate what he's doing here. If we can enter certain notes with that strategic use of fry, it creates this emotional connection with the listener. It's amazing how he's doing this because he's going from fry into a clean sound and then activating that compression, that lifting something heavy that I've talked about on so many other videos. Did you notice how he goes back and forth between these wonderfully clean notes and wonderfully gritty notes? This is huge because I think a lot of people who are trying to sing with distortion, I know that we tend to think about, well, if I'm going to sing with distortion, I got to be like in. It's an on or off switch. But he's clearly moving in and out of these distorted phrases in a very free way. And this not only saves your voice and helps you with vocal stamina because you're not always having to go real hard on your chords, but it also helps you be dynamic and interesting so you don't get trapped in the sort of one voice sound. This is why we like his voice so much.
They tell us we're nothing, keep working and let it go. They are the weakest.
Right? Like right there. There are layers in his approach. And if I can help you unpack a little bit of what he's doing, I don't know, the more I know about how certain things work, the greater regard and respect I have for what they do, or what this thing does, or whatever it is. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Listen, though. right here. We could take this, just sing the notes any way we can. They are the weakest. Head voice. Now let's do chest voice. They are the weakest. Now, that's really high. If I can harness the freedom of my head voice and the girthiness of my chest voice and kind of slam them together, they are the weakest. It's going to sound like that because I'm not supporting very well and I'm singing right around where my vocal break is. However, if I can use a little bit of compression, let's lift something heavy, hold back a little bit of air as I inject more support into those notes. They are the weakest. They are the weakest. You hear how I get this sheeny, slight breakup, slight distortion. This is what he's doing. He's taking the clarity of a head voice and the girthiness of a chest voice, and he's pushing them together with the right amount of support and then adding compression. If you need more help with your support, click that link to my free course and I'll show you how to get good support. Okay, going on. I just wanted to unpack that sound. Anybody can do it. Not everybody's going to sound like this. But if we can get a little bit more understanding about how they're using these tools in their voice, there's that fry thing again. Oh, how he went down from that heated, compressed mixed note like I was talking about, and then landed in that tender head voice note. He is blending resonances in a more artistic way than I have heard in a long time. This guy's amazing. Oh, did you? How he sighed out of that note. This sigh and fry relationship he has, right? Crudely demonstrated. Right? I'm sighing into this note, sighing into this high note, supported, mixed note, and then to finish it off with the sigh is just, it's a wonderful way to bookend a note. It gives you this edge on the either side of these notes, and it just reaches into you. And be okay to experiment crudely with your own voice. That is the lesson here. Because though what he's doing does not sound crude, I'll bet there was a lot of crudeness that went into him getting there. Now, this is an interesting thing. With a crowd this size, the interaction is just priceless, right? It's amazing. This is also giving our lead singer a break so that he can give it his all in the last part of the song, which may be some of the areas that he's going to shine the most. Usually is, especially in larger performances like this. So it's kind of neat to think about that this kind of thing is, while awesome and spontaneous, also in a small way planned, especially if you're doing, large tours, you're recording night after night, or performing night after night. It's cool to give yourself these breaks. You can work this concept into smaller performances too. It's just the perfect amount of distortion over his thin, placement. And I'm not using thin in a bad way. It's perfectly, beautifully thin. He knows how to sing in these higher registers, not seeming like he's pulling his chest voice up. There's no strain whatsoever. There's freedom. There's intensity. There's engagement. There was again that fry. We are. How many of us who sing have actually thought about doing that intentionally? He's probably not thinking about it in the moment, but that doesn't matter. We can. Am I glad I took the request seriously? Wow. I'm going to be listening to more of this guy, and I know who I'm going to go try to go see when Muse comes to my town in the US. Thank you, Blake, for suggesting this. Thank you for the lots and lots of commenters who've also suggested this. Again, if you want more help figuring out what your voice can really do, click the link below and join my free voice course. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. See you soon. Hey, Chris Liepe here with how to develop and hone your vibrato. You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. You're so beautiful to me. It's been said many times that you don't find your vibrato, it finds you. What does that mean? It means that if you try to find your vibrato, particularly by doing something that you think someone else is doing with their vibrato, you will harbor too much tension based on expectation to do what you want to do. In other words, you trap your voice by pursuing vibrato, and then anything that you do sounds forced or contrived. I know that you can relate if you've ever tried to find your vibrato. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to let your vibrato find you. The key is you have to be super open to being completely ridiculous, and you have to be completely non-judgmental as you're starting to dial in some of these sensations that I'm going to show you. Also, if you don't understand how to use your breath support correctly, you will never, ever, ever get vibrato. Your vibrato will never find you. You'll be lost. You must have an understanding, a fundamental understanding of how to manipulate your airflow in a healthy way that doesn't cause tension all over your range. Then your vibrato may find you if you follow what I'm showing you in this video. Click the link below and join my free course, and I'll help you dial in your support so that this stuff, finding your vibrato, is going to make more sense and you can participate more confidently. The first thing we're going to do here is belly laugh, okay? We're going to say ha, but we're not just going to say ha 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 ha. We're not going to do that. You can't be reserved. You have to give a real big belly laugh. Now notice, when I'm doing that, I'm letting a lot of air out on the H. I'm actually running out of breath really quickly. But when I engage my vocal cords, there's this sense of like, it's a loud, like, projected sound. Do this first, and then we're going to dial back the extremes, both in how much air we're letting out and how loud we are belly laughing when we engage our vocal cords. Okay, that's the extreme. Next, now there's this sense that I'm bouncing like this, and I'm restraining the amount of air that I'm letting out on the H. And my stomach is still bouncing. Now we're working in stages here. Remember that. This is not the final output. But I'm practicing this sort of restrain thing, but I'm not restraining here. I'm restraining my air. In other words, I'm not going, I'm not trying to manipulate the sound from here at all. I'm letting the airflow come up like this, and then I'm giving shorter, less puffs. Then we want to eliminate the H altogether. And I feel my stomach doing this. Now, I'm not tense at all here, but my support system's pretty tense. Okay. What's really interesting about this is that if I start holding out a note and letting this convulsion in my lower body continue, now the key is I'm moving around the note as I'm doing things, right? I'm not just staying here. I'm going around to different parts of my chest voice. Okay. Now, as I'm doing this, like this, that sounds sort of like vibrato, but it's actually more of a tremolo. I'm maintaining whatever pitch, and I'm bringing in more volume and less volume. That's not necessarily vibrato. That's more like tremolo. But now we let our larynx float. We manipulate it a little bit like this. So that's totally loose. Yeah, I'm letting my tongue be super loose, and I'm bringing this up and down. Okay, I told you were going to sound ridiculous. Now, let's move the pitch up and down more. We're doing all these things at once. It's kind of like this. Now, start to make this a bit more mild. You're convulsing like this, that tremolo. Start to make the tremolo a bit less. We're keeping loose up here, and we're doing less abrupt convulsing down here. This is starting to unlock, as I bring my pitch around, pitch variance in my bouncing. I'm going to land on a note. Huh. There's vibrato. One more thing to experiment with. And before I share this, you have to understand that vibrato, as it finds you, it is a multifaceted, multi-textured, multi-muscled sort of thing. It's not one thing. And so by engaging all these parts of your body in different ways, you let the vibrato find you. Okay? Here's the last thing. Start engaging your head voice by moving the pitch around and then backing off the pressure so that you crack into head voice. Backing off the pressure. I told you need a good understanding of how your support works so that you can find that break as you're working around your chest/head resonance. Your break is your friend here. Don't try to eliminate your break. Go with it. as I learn to back off pressure, like I was talking about earlier, and I keep everything loose by moving the pitch around, by keeping my larynx floating, manipulating the back of my tongue and soft palate, I start discovering how bouncy I can make the sound. Once you discover how it feels to bounce that sound around while everything is super fluid, you can start to hone it. Notice how I transitioned by backing off pressure from chest voice to head voice, and I let my voice bounce into the head voice. This is how my vibrato found me and how it can find you too. Experiment with this. Hone it. Don't reject anything as you're dialing this in. Leave comments below. Let me know what you thought. If you want more tips like this, I offer tons of unconventional ways to discover what your body can do for your voice, help you learn about your voice in my free course, and much more in my other courses. Click that link below and join my free course. We'll see you for more. Hey, Chris Liepe here with my first time listening to Take What You Want by One OK Rock. This was done in the Japan Dome in 2018. And I was told that if I really wanted to get a sense for the genius and mastery of the voice of Taka, that I should watch this video. So I'm really excited to get into this. This is a singing channel. I get a chance to teach people how to sing all the time. So when I get recommended a vocalist like Taka, I am incredibly excited to pull from what he does. And if you want help with your voice, your singing, and you want to learn how to pull inspiration from other singers and put those things in your own voice, click the link below and join my free course. I tend to start and stop on these type of videos because if I think of something, I don't want to forget about it. And it makes complying with copyright restrictions easier if I'm not playing too long of sections at a time. And a big part of what you guys said about this song is that you really get a sense for his dynamics and range and connectedness to his emotions. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing here. Oh, I noticed this on the last song too, but here, it being more stripped down and him singing in this quieter, much more subdued, introspective way, you really hear the way that he's able to bridge his head voice and his chest voice so seamlessly. Every time he approaches the end of a note, he ends up being in head voice. Those of you who are singers, you will appreciate this. This is very hard to do when you're singing quiet. Well, when you're singing loud or quiet. But he's mastered this, so it's just seamless. Also, his entrances on Fry, and then into head voice, priceless. I don't want anything. There it is again. A broken home. Not the memories, all the things we own. Not the picture of us on the wall. I have a feeling I'm in for a very explosive transition here. So take what you want. Wonderful vocal agility, even in his More subdued voice. Huh. Oh, cool. Wow. What fun that would be to be there live.
Can you hear me? I'm trying to hear you.
Oh, I'm going to have to play that again. That entrance into that note. It started clean and then he gave it that wonderful compressed, but not too compressed. He's not screaming. It's heated. It's warm. It's saturated. And then did you hear that little squeak? The way he abandoned out of his confident voice? It gave you more vulnerability. It gave you more relation to what he's doing. Listen again.
Can you hear me? I'm trying to hear you.
So here, he had that little crack on here, like the entrance, where he's tapping into his head voice a little bit, and then he did that, you, right? He's entering head voice and exiting head voice. He's so free and agile. And these types of things are what separate these kind of singers from the ones that just merely hit the notes. Clearly, he can hit the notes too. But there's something special when you start putting these little nuances in and you can call them in the perfect moments. This is a perfect moment.
Silence strikes like a hurricane.
And those added H's. Extra level. I keep using that word vulnerable. This is why we love what he does so much. It's so relatable, even though it's so good.
I'm singing for you.
Oh, that heat.
You're screaming at me. It's hard to see your tears and the pouring rain.
Wow. There's almost this aspect of how he enters into certain notes where he sounds a little bit hoarse. He's just got that coordination of mild false chord engagement, which allows for that compressed, heated sound, and how to get in and out of that with his head voice. Those things mixed together, it's what's making for this wonderful blend of flavors. Fry? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Squeak again? Beautiful head voice. Those squeaks are a result of the fry. Yeah, there it is again.
Take what you want, take what you want,
I like that. Oh! Here we go. I love that off-feeling groove.
Take what you want, take what you want, go. Take what you want, take what you want, go.
His consistency when he drops into this kind of thing is marvelous as well.
Take what you want, take what you want, go. Just go now, just go, go, go. Just remember a time and you'll feel like home. Hearing me up against a great note.
Hear that little squeak? No! No! Awesome. Hard to do, too, on pitch. Really, really awesome.
You want my life, now you want my life. Yeah, it's this life, can you hear me? I'm trying to hear you.
His use of breath, right? When he says here, it's not can you hear me? It's can you he's even causing a little bit of resistance on that H. And doing this at the tempo he's doing it is really difficult. So slowing it down if you want to try doing this in your own voice is advisable. There's this sigh into the H and this resistance. Here. So many little things happening that you don't really think about that he has practiced and honed, combined with that heat. Oh, what a unique sound. Nice run. There's that Chester Bennington. You hear how he has that breathiness and that rasp over it? Very few vocalists can get that and have the distortion. This perfect balance of rasp and heat, right? A lot of times you can be raspy, but not distorted and gritty. They're sort of two separate things. And him and Chester Bennington, one of the few that I've heard that wonderful tone out of.
It's hard to see your tears in the pouring rain.
There's that sort of sound. I don't think I get enough of it, especially the way he's using it. The oh. That's an interesting thing to workshop in your own voice. But he's able to hit two different notes as he sighs out of that chest voice note. Oh, as opposed to just sort of letting it go somewhere, right? Oh, like that. It sounds somewhat inhuman.
Take what you want, take what you want, go. Take what you want, take what you want, go.
Did you hear how he started with a lower note in head voice, take what, and then crescendoed up into his chest voice. Another thing that a lot of vocalists don't and can't do. A lot of voices they think are built for, oh, well, I go higher, I go into my head voice or my falsetto. He's turning that around. I'm going to go higher. I'm going to start in my head voice or falsetto, and then I'm going to build up into that beautifully supported chest voice.
Arigato.
You got a little snippet of him just speaking there at the end. I love hearing that in the context of a live performance because he's got a higher voice, a higher pitched speaking voice, even right there. And that plays into his bellish tone for sure. But the fact that he can have that light of a disposition with his voice and still get as gritty and thick, that's saying something. Thank you so much for enjoying this with me. I'm learning a lot from studying Taka, and hopefully you're learning a little something too, and that your enjoyment of his art is increasing as you know some of the nuances and sort of behind the scenes voice things that are going on with his voice. Again, if you'd like a little more help with your voice, click that link below and join my free course. And be sure to check out the other video I did a little bit ago on One OK Rock as well. Hey, Chris Liepe here with how to know if you're in or singing with mixed voice. 2 simple checks.
When it all went away, I found a way to go further. When it all went away, I found a way to go. When I lost it all to fear, I found a way to build, I found a way to hide from all the years.
It's a question I get a lot. How do I know if I'm in mix and not just in my head voice and singing really powerfully, or in my chest voice somehow? So these 2 checks are going to demystify it for you once and for all. But before we go there, if you don't have a handle on how to use your support correctly, These tips are not going to work. If you want to use your support correctly and learn how it feels to do so, click the link below and join my free voice course. I'll help you dial that in, and then these tips are going to make a lot more sense. The first is a resonance check. The second is a placement check. And you put these two things together that work hand in hand, and you will know. So, resonance. I am going to sing a note, a high note, like this. You should do this with me. Now, that note is in my head voice, or is it mix? I don't know. And I'm going to get more powerful with this note. If as I inject more support into this high note and I start to crack, I am not in mixed voice. I am in a powerful, supported head voice. But the positioning of our vocal cords in head voice cannot take the power of support like mixed voice can. So, if you're singing a high note and you're wondering if you're in mix or in just regular head voice, give it some more support and see what happens. You can do this in a lot of places, as long as you're pretty sure you're not in chest voice. Head voice, ha, ha, ha. Okay, so I'm gonna go, yeah! Well, that's a pretty cool sounding head voice note or high note. Is it mix? Okay, let's try. I start to crack. It's not mixed voice. When you've got things placed correctly, yes, our second check, the placement check, you can give those high notes more support and they don't break. They get more brash and more powerful. Or there, I actually started in head voice and then changed my placement so that I could resonate in mixed voice. So here's our placement test. We're going to be super forward in a chest voice note. Hey! Hey! And we're going to feel the vibrations in our face. Hey! That's kind of a belt, right? Hey! And then we're going to practice bringing the placement of that note back. I feel it vibrating and yes, resonating in this area, not so much in this area.
You can hear me cracking just a little bit. That's okay. Here we've brought the resonance back.
That's going to help us initiate this sort of crying or whining sound, which we can't do really when we're bringing our placement forward.